have a couple pins too. I'm gonna go through one agenda for now, because I didn't realize there would be so many people here, I only made 10 copies.
Can I make some more?
Maybe, yeah, let me see here what we've got. Do you have the one people phone, you know? Okay, excellent.
We don't play well.
What'd you say? You don't know if you wanna
I
share?
don't play well with it.
Oh, okay, well, we can definitely get you your own agenda. That's it, well, so we have,
Yeah, we can share, we're all right.
we have a couple more. I'll leave those out for the public, so there's 2 more up here, so if you start biting or anything.
Noted.
So I think I'll just pull a chair up so that we can all be on camera. Yeah.
All right, I'm free from my phone now. I called, I mean, there've been like 3 holidays since the last meeting, so I called to see if I had.
6:03, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. The first thing on our agenda is to do the oath of office. So we have 2 board members. Oops. Mike Oxenreider. So do you want me to read this to you, or would you like to just read the oath of office and sign it?
I'll just read it and
So you-
sign it.
Okay, raise your right hand and read that out loud.
This is a fun part. I, Mike Oxenreider, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and diligently discharge the duties of the office of Township Board Member of Wabash Township of this county, according to law and to the best of my ability.
Thank you. So then you're gonna sign all of those. And then Brennan, would you like to read yours?
I sure will.
Awesome.
I, Brendan Betts, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Indiana, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and diligently discharge the duties of the office of the Township Board Member of Wabash Township of this county, according to law and to the best of my ability.
So you will sign all of those. And we will send them back to the clerk's office.
And I was already sworn in.
And you were sworn in, and I have your township copy, in case you wanted to see it, so we have that on record.
I don't know about the date the commission expires.
Yeah, I have a copy too.
Oh, yeah.
Is this for you to sign? Because it says subscribe to this form before me, this.
Oh,
Michael,
well,
okay, I'm gonna make 2
being
copies of that.
vicious.
Here, give me those. That's all right. I should have said.
you gotta say,
I should have.
it's after
Right.
6 and my brain is.
I'll get another copy when we get done here.
No, it's late too. I put the wrong date on.
On all of them?
Oh, yeah, I made sure to be consistent. That's what they tell you about the everything, it's just be
This is
consistent.
the last time I hand you anything to sign today. Okay, it probably is, unfortunately. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the board member responsibilities. So I have printed out, this comes from the Indiana Township Association. And so they did a presentation and they have provided us a slideshow of the responsibilities for the board. So I'm just gonna keep that here and then you can look over it. And I have a copy in case anyone wants to see it. Of what the board's responsibilities
Do you want me to make copies
are.
for all of them to take with them or not?
No, I have it I'll send it to them electronically. So, do you want paper?
I actually still have it from the training council, so I would.
Would you like paper
No.
or is electronically? Okay. Excellent. Okay, next on our agenda is the, I'm sorry. I was gonna skip a step. So the election of the chairman and secretary for township and we have one board, so township and financial board for Wabash. So that's up to you guys, so there'll need to be a nomination.
And typically, we've done whatever exists before, but it's changed now. So like it's usually overlapped who the township board and financial board is, but we don't have to do it that way this time.
Well, I have no input, that's
You
completely.
were interested in the financial board thing.
Yeah, if there's a leadership position there, I'd love to serve in that capacity.
I'll nominate Brendan to be the chair of the financial board.
I'll nominate Mike to be chair.
Wait, I'm sorry, you're doing these separately? You're
That's
gonna
what I
have,
was bringing up.
Mhm.
We could do it that way, or it could overlap.
okay, that's up to you, I just wanna make notes here so that I can get
So
your.
there was a nomination for myself for finance chair and then also a nomination for Mike for chair of the board.
But then you would be stuck with secretary, and you want to be secretary.
Mixed feelings about secretary,
Yeah.
because females always get picked.
I know, right? I was
Yes.
noticing that when this was happening, but this is just, I don't have to be chair.
But I am uber organized,
I'm not, as you can see, so like,
so I should probably be secretary,
okay.
but yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
I nominate that for secretary.
Of what?
Both.
Of things,
Yeah.
all things board,
All,
Thank you for it.
which really means I'm in charge.
pretty much.
So there's a,
Essentially, yes.
there's a nomination, but there was a second.
Yeah, I'll second.
I guess, are you taking notes on this? 'Cause this
I
will be,
am actually.
okay, alright, okay.
And I'm making a recording, I don't know if you are, but I can send you mine.
Yeah. So you have a nomination and a second for secretary, but can we
And
go
I
back?
also second his, well.
Well, let's do one at a time.
Yes,
Secretary
let's, because
first.
I have no idea what's going on.
Excellent.
I like those spots. I approve of Beth being secretary.
I think that's
All those in
unanimous
favor say
decision.
aye.
That would be done by the chair, so you should probably.
But
you should
since we
probably
don't
do
have a
that.
chair,
Well,
it's
that's
kind of
okay,
hard to
that's what I was
discuss.
gonna say, you might wanna do the chair first.
All right.
and-
I'm going to pass by consent. Do we have consent?
Okay.
Excellent, we have consensus for the nomination for Beth.
I have a question if I may interrupt.
Yeah.
Are there really two separate boards?
Not to my understanding,
I've never known there to be two separate boards.
Yeah,
I
it could
was
be done either
I-
way is what we heard, but.
Okay, but I guess what I'm getting at is then you're gonna have a separate meeting for the township board and then a separate meeting for the township financial board.
No, it'll be in the same.
Then why are you having a chair for one and a chair for the
I
other?
don't know, because he was interested and it seems,
Well, then,
he wanted.
you know, then
Yeah,
My argument would be to spread responsibilities around the board,
there's, to my knowledge, there's only one responsibility for the board and that's financial.
right?
That's the only thing you have a say-so about, and what you do is approve what, or disapprove of what she submits.
so I'll nominate Brendan for board chair then.
I just think that if you're gonna have two of you, it's gonna be very confusing, and one of you is gonna end up doing nothing, the other's gonna do it all, so you might as well just make one of you, the chairman of both. Now, that's strictly my opinion, you can do whatever you want, but I've never known to have a separate meeting for the financial report and a separate meeting.
I don't think it would necessarily.
It's really the same thing.
I think
It's
it would
one
just
entity.
merely be a report from one to the next, but I definitely take your point, it's clearly the same folks doing that work. I don't think that that is our working relationship, however. I do think that we're relatively good at splitting responsibility. We did so in our races and proved that we can operate cohesively. Regardless, however, there is a nomination. I did second his nomination, or nominate him as well as board president, so there's two of those.
This is totally, I mean, I have no input on this, so.
What are your thoughts?
I actually agree that the more heads you have, the more complicated it can be to work.
Fair enough.
And especially if this is only a 3-person board, we don't need all be in charge of different aspects of it. And then, if we find that we need to delegate things out, we can do that as needed.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
I think that makes sense.
So hearing that, do we approve of Michael Oxenrider as chairman for the board?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Brendan nominated Michael. Second. Okay. And we've already done secretary.
All you get is
Who nominated
All
Beth?
that happens with financials, you can set it to check.
Do you have all that down? Because I didn't, so I'm just trying to
Yeah, I
clarify.
think it
We'll work
was,
on the
Can you tell me who nominated Beth Elizabeth Tran for
You
secretary?
did, and I
it was
seconded.
mine, yeah.
Mike. Second is Brendan. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm sorry, I just needed to clarify. Make sure I got that down.
Okay.
Good. So old business would be approval of December meeting minutes. So as the secretary, I'll let you read those, I guess, or Michael can
I'll just
since
go ahead and
he-
read them since I was the one that was secretary for that. Wabash Township Board meeting, December 10th. Meeting was attended by Jim Glenna, Dale Workman, Trustee Julia Byers, Secretary Karen Cadle, Fire Chief Mike Francis, and Deputy Trustee Teresa Wheelbecker. Meeting was called to order by Chairman Dale Workman, followed by a pledge to the flag. Minutes from the November 28th meeting were read by Secretary Jim Glenna. Motion to approve minutes made by Board Member Oxenrider. Motion passed. Internal controls were read about the Oversight Committee. Dale Workman has been signing the Centier Monthly Bank Report, December 2017 through November 2018. Dale's verified and signed these. The office, there should be a period there. The office will receive these in January, and we should be getting them at the office. So I don't know if you received those yet. Old business, trustee read that they've approved of a loan, 4.125%. And a $500 attorney. Centier Bank wants personal information of trustee on the loan though. And trustee said she will not give personal information for a loan. They also want all 3 board members on the loan. So that's a couple later. Checks were dispersed. There was discussion of registration and title from past truck. They're trying to sell, but the registration and the title don't match the vehicle. Discussion of how to get proper plates and registration and talking with the clerk. Reimbursement for trustee expenses was submitted. Motion made by Oxenrider to approve. Motion passed. Fire Chief Mike Francis presented Dale Workman congratulatory plaque for his retirement. And then public comment, Fire Chief Mike Francis said they will be having a record-breaking year for runs, over 1,200. I'd like to ask those of you that were at the meeting, was there anything that was missed at that? Jim?
I think so.
I think you got it. All right. So I'll sign a copy, you sign a copy, and then we also each sign one for
Jennifer,
Yes.
you really need to have a motion to accept the minutes as read.
Yeah, I just remember. Do we want to make a motion to accept the minutes as read?
So moved.
Do we want to correct anything in the minutes? There was some garbled language at the top. I'll correct the period up here, and then this should say, instead of say date, it should say Centier. Alright, so all those in favor, or you seconded, all those in favor?
Actually, he moved, I'll say.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
all those in favor?
Aye.
You should sign that one.
I'm sorry, they're all
Yeah.
the signatures are,
Yeah,
I got it.
yeah, and then she'll get one too. We'll use yours.
Can you write your names after your signatures,
Okay.
please, so that I know, I don't know your signatures. Thank you.
Okay, so that one will go to you. Then
I need one more name. Who's on top? Must be
oh,
you.
there you go.
That's funny.
Yeah, just put it there. Here it is.
For corrections.
Oh, that's what this one was, just to keep in the book. So, we'll do that one.
I don't have an electronic copy of that, so.
Yeah. We have a big folder that we get.
Electronic?
No. No, binder. You can start putting them electronic if you want, take a picture of each one.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're old school.
Okay.
To follow up on two things that you read from the meeting minutes, I really don't have any information from you, but I will tell you that I'm setting a meeting with Cynthia regarding the loan, and I'm also meeting with the county lawyer about the title. From what I understand at this point, we are going to have to get a court order to get the title for the fire truck. So we're working on that paperwork.
Thank you for your help.
Comments or questions or
What does that mean, do you know?
what does
What does
what?
that mean about the title, do you know?
I don't have any further information at this time.
Okay, I'm just the
The length
liaison,
of time,
I'm just the liaison with with the department that is ready to purchase it, so he's been asking me and I said.
well, let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh,
When we purchased this vehicle, was it new or used?
Brand new.
brand new.
Okay, in that case, we should be able to contact the manufacturer and receive the original title.
Already have. I've sent everything we have from they show that the bank that we used at the time, back in 1995, still has a lien on it.
And that bank is,
Not even in existence.
Community Bank.
No,
I think
it
it's
was
what-
Wabash. It's not something that's still around.
No, I
Wabash.
know it's not around anymore.
Yeah.
well, it would have been purchased, the bank would have been, I mean,
I assume so.
And
absorbed.
I'm sorry with this because we were not involved in this at all.
Right,
And so this is all new to us in the last 2 months. We didn't even know that they didn't have a title for this truck, so.
right,
The truck has never been titled, so you have a certificate of origin.
right. Well, do we have the original certificate of origin?
I have that
Because
from the manufacturer.
you have the original.
I have a copy of the original. I don't think
No,
it's the original.
I need the original.
I got everything I could from her.
Okay,
They had to go back in their vault that threw all the cobwebs and everything to get what it was, so
okay.
I have everything
So
I
I
can get.
don't have a timeline for
Okay.
that, because if we do have to go through the court order procedure, from what I understand at this point, without speaking to a lawyer, we're gonna have to, give notice, public notice, and then we'll have to wait, an X number of days before we can even see the judge, and then assuming that we have everything that he needs, then we have to work with the state. So it could be sometime before that's finished. But I am working on it,
Yeah.
and I will keep you posted.
We appreciate it. And the copy of that certificate of origin that we sent Kevin is actually in that packet that you have.
Yeah, I have it,
Thank you.
yes, I just don't have the original, so if we,
We don't even have the original. All we have is a copy. We only have one of the two-sided copies, so I called them to get the second set of copy and I did. But here in the department, we don't have, it's frightening. I don't know why we don't have it. It's nowhere.
We might wanna go back to the manufacturer one more time and see if we can have an additional conversation about whether or not they ever created or sent the title anywhere, right? So what did they do? Maybe their records will tell us what they did when they purchased the
If
vehicle.
there was
So it
a
should have
loan-
gone to the bank, but didn't. What, that's what I guess maybe
And
we
we don't have a
can
bank
find
to
out
call,
from
right?
them.
And that bank's not in existence to find out, that's the bad part.
Well, I'm hoping that maybe the manufacturer might know.
She's the one that told me their records indicate there's a lien still being held against it by this bank, which makes no sense. I mean, it's 25 years, 23 years.
And unfortunately, I was not able to find the payoff information
It's good.
at this point.
And I've talked to Jim, he's talked to the trustee at the time, we've tried to go back within Wabash records to ask people who were on the department back then that had the signatures we've seen, those people don't know anything about it. The trustee at the time says she doesn't know anything about it. I mean, I don't think anyone's gonna remember where it all sitting in 25 years,
Right,
so.
okay, well,
But I'm
I'll
happy
keep
to
you
forward you
posted.
the email from this lady, she was
Okay.
very helpful at the manufacturer,
yeah, that'd be great.
I'm happy to do that.
Out of curiosity, and perhaps for record, who was the trustee at the time?
Patricia Mason.
Patricia. Okay.
Any other comments or?
Is this the $500? $500 lawyer, does that line refer to this situation?
That's sent to your bank, that's how much it would cost for a lawyer, their lawyer, sent to your bank, and that's a different thing.
I see. Just curious.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Moving on to new business. So, we have the 2018 annual financial report. Julie left me a note here that just said to be presented at your January board meeting after it is voted and signed, please notify Bill Jones. So Bill Jones worked with Julie Byers to create this report. So you'll see that Julie has signed it. I didn't have anything to do with this report. So just FYI. I can, of course, again, I can get you copies physically, but we will also send this to you electronically. You've all seen this prior to today, is that correct? So if you would like to take a look at that, I have a copy there.
Jennifer, when you do that electronically, can I get you to send me one also?
Of course, sure. No problem.
I assume there aren't any changes since the last time we saw it, because there's just a printed date.
I do not know, it looks like date, no, there's no date on here from when it was. It was my understanding that you had already been presented with this report,
We saw it at the budget,
so,
um, although not to this level of detail, was not the.
so just to give you a heads up here. I was not able to find some of the documents, for us to be able to sign for approvals for the board today. So we are probably going to have to come back after I've had training, like I was telling you before the meeting started. My trustee training is scheduled for this Saturday, the 12th. So after that, I hope to have more of the information. I guess I could ask you, you do not have vendor files. I would not assume that you would have the vendor files, but I've been unable to locate those in the office for
For what?
contracts that we would have entered into. So for example, the trash removal or cemetery maintenance, or I can't find, I can't find those contracts. I mean, I have some of the new information and some of the new contracts Julie left me, but I can't find any historical data. So as soon as I locate that, So we're gonna have to come back together, and from what I understand, oh no, wait a second, I'm sorry. Let me look at that date. Hold on just 1 second. Yeah, so this, the financial report has to be submitted by the 24th. So I'm, at the end of this meeting, I'm gonna recommend that we come back together on the 22nd of January, because we're gonna have some additional information that we're going to need to look at and sign for January that I do not have for you today. So if you want to take your time and look this over, and I can get you a physical copy, or I can get you electronic copy.
Electronics, fine.
We can do that at that time, so that you have more time to review it.
So you'll get us the electronic file by tomorrow?
Correct.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, well, yes, I'm sure I have this electronically, but I can also scan it, so yes, of
Okay.
course.
Jennifer,
I
what
will
date
say-
is that? January 22nd?
that's what I'm gonna recommend, that's on the agenda later, but yeah, I'll go back over that, just to make sure that that's acceptable. That will be after my training, and then I can have additional information. So Bill Jones is the trustee for Tippecanoe Township. And so he helped Julie create this report. We had a contract with him that ended as of January 1 of this year. When I talked to him about that today, he mentioned to me that he was told that I had hired someone else, and he gave me the name of someone. I've never heard of that person before, I don't know where that information came from. So I asked him if he would be interested in continuing with us this year, since he's been doing it, so he would be able to answer questions for
He's got a
you.
lot of knowledge, so
Well, especially he's created these reports, so I feel like, I would recommend that we do that. So he said he will get back to me, I spoke with him today, so
So that is yet to be determined.
that is yet to be determined
So we
whether
can't
he's
even-
interested in doing that, correct?
What was the name of this other individual that was recommended?
I don't even remember them, I'd never heard it before, I didn't write it down, I was driving,
Okay,
when I was on the phone, and so I can get more information about that.
I think that would be pretty.
You may recommend him again if he can't do it.
He answered the questions that I had. I mean, I didn't have all the information that I really needed, and like I said, I was driving, I didn't find that out. I didn't know that we had a contract with him until today,
Right.
so I can definitely follow up and get more information on that. So, every year in January, we will review the policies of the township office. We have this book here. Again, I did not make a bunch of copies. I can get all of this to you electronically. But we'll just need to review these. There's nothing for us to approve unless we are going to make changes to these policies. So if you have recommendations for changing anything, let me know, and then we'll have to go through the procedure of, you wanna just put that here, and you probably don't wanna look at it now. Do you wanna look at it right this minute?
Yeah, I do wanna
Sure.
kind of take a peek.
Sure.
Is this the nepotism policy?
Correct.
Also, the travel policy?
Internal controls.
Sure.
The one thing that I will say about the internal controls is that at this time, we do not have a deputy trustee, so I'm acting in both capacities at this moment, so we'll have to decide how we're going to move forward with that.
I think that's just simply your choice, isn't it? Your designation?
Yeah, I mean, we'll need to, I'll need to find out if that's, at this time, I'm doing both. I'm doing all of the trustees' responsibilities. So I'm paying the bills, I'm doing the payroll. That's what Teresa did.
Right.
So yeah, you'll probably have to rewrite the internal controls to
Right.
delete that.
Right, once we determine. In fact, I might have that for you next time. After the 12th training, I'll have more information on what is required of us. We do, in the first 30 days of, words. In the first 30 days, I have to appoint a designee, in case, of course, upon my death or, if I am no longer, residing inside the township. So, or unable to do my duties.
Or if you're just like on vacation, right?
Well,
Because-
unable to do my duties, right,
Right.
correct. So, I will appoint that person and I will get that, I will definitely have that done before the next meeting. From what I understand, that does not require approval. I just have to notify the chairman and the sheriff. Okay, contracts. So, at this time, I have the Wabash Shelby Township Fire Protection Contract for you to review. This contract for fire protection and rescue services shall be bound in accordance with laws of the state of Indiana by the Township of Shelby in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, hereby referred to as the recipient, and the Township of Wabash in Tippecanoe County, Indiana, hereby referred to as the provider. The provider, Wabash Township, hereby agrees to provide fire protection and rescue services to a portion of Shelby Township, Tippecanoe County, Indiana, through its division known as the Wabash Township Volunteer Fire Department. The services will be for the area up to and including all addresses on 600 West, but only south of Jackson Highway and all of County Road 75 North. The provider agrees to furnish the services to the best of its ability within the operating policies of the Wabash Township Volunteer Fire Department. Requests for services and assignment of manpower and equipment shall be accomplished in the same manner to areas within both townships, except that at no time shall the provider be obligated to commit all pieces of motorized fire apparatus outside of its jurisdictional area within Wabash Civil Township. Excuse me. The recipient agrees to compensate the Fire Protection Fund of Wabash Township Rural Fire Protection Tax District with a sum of $4,000 payable in 2 installments. The first installment due June 30th, 2019, and the second by December 31st, 2019. This agreement shall be terminated by either party upon notification of the other party in writing 90 days prior to the date of expiration or at any time upon mutual consent of both parties. So this has already been signed by Shelby Township, so here's the designation of where we will sign, just for clarification. Do we have any discussion or questions about us providing parts of
Do
Shelby?
you guys wanna fill them in a little bit on it?
Sure.
How the contract works?
So this has been a long-standing agreement between Otterman Fire Department and Wabash. Shelby Township is this township just to the west of us. They don't have a fire department. So they rely on Otterman and Wabash to provide residents of that area fire protection and rescue services. That area is an area that we can get to pretty quick, a lot quicker than Otterman could come out from Otterman. So that's why we picked that area up, and they actually bumped it up last year. So a little bit more money, but it's just a long-standing agreement we entered into.
And you're comfortable with it, you like it, all that?
And
Adds more runs.
yeah,
Do
that
we
area,
know how many runs are going to that area?
I would just be guessing.
Okay.
Just kind of a sidebar, just met with the GIS from the county last week, and that was some of the areas that we work on, is make sure that that area is in CAD correctly as far as the responding agencies, and it is.
I think I'd be interested in knowing what percentage of the ones goes out there, but I'm assuming.
I'll give you an educated guess, it's less than 20 runs a year.
Oh, okay,
Really?
very,
Very good.
yeah,
Less
okay.
than 20 runs a year,
Then,
wow.
yeah,
I just assumed it was more.
It's a good dollar amount per one.
it's
Yeah,
probably not very populated.
yeah.
A lot of farmland out there.
Maybe they don't stick aluminum in the microwave when they're making food.
And you don't need any special equipment, we don't have to, there's no expense, additional expense that's going into servicing this area.
No, we're very, very, very fortunate, thank you.
So if we,
So, Rena, do we approve of this contract?
Probably need a motion.
Yeah. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, this is why I thought maybe I shouldn't be the chairman.
Yeah, I'll
I
move to
can't remember
approve.
Robert's rules.
I
you
see
have
what
a, you have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that,
Yeah.
I second it.
You move, you don't make a motion.
That's all those in favor.
Yeah, we might have to change that. The chairman thing. I don't-
Robert's supposed to speak to you.
You'll learn it.
Yeah,
Okay, all in favor?
So
alright.
Is the mover ready?
you have your notes.
And unanimous consent.
Bless you.
Just there, only there, on those pieces of paper. Oh my goodness,
I have a book though. Robert's rules.
so under member.
I like that.
I didn't sign the second.
That's what we're just talking about.
It is the 8th day of January.
Can you believe it already? Wow. Thank you.
Just vote.
Signature.
Oh, two.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the adoption of township assistance standards. So we have made some changes and I'm gonna go through that with all of you. Or we're recommending some changes. So I have, these are the new, if you are interested. Would you like a? I have two. Do you want one? Did you sign in, by the way? Can you get your name on this paper just so I don't forget? Sign in. Thank you. Hopefully, so I can read it. I see. Is that you?
Mine's on there, the one that you can't read.
This, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, who was that? Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, I need to know what's changed.
I'm gonna go through that, each one of them. I think I am. Okay. So on page 1, underneath number 2, application procedure, on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 line down, third word over, receive, was, the D was removed, it was received.
Typo.
It was a typo, correct?
Do you need to go through all the typos or just the?
I would like to get that on record, just so that there is never any confusion of what has been changed from, I would like to do that. It's a little tedious. The second paragraph, starting with failure to comply, was put in bold. On the, so this would be the second page, no, wait a second, yes, second page. First line, Disabilities Act, so right after 120101, it's capital ET, it's a lowercase et. Number 3, under eligibility, the first line, it said you are also not eligible. We removed also to be you are not eligible for assistance. Under B, that starts with you willfully give false information or documentation. We removed the bold, first of all, that said, so, starting with if you have, all the way to conviction was in bold, and we took out the bold. The other thing that we did was,
Does this word, it says, 10 years after a felony conviction, any felony conviction or just welfare fraud?
so, we added that, actually, that's the next thing that I was going to tell you,
Oh.
so, that's all right. So before, the statute was not listed, so we put under IC 35-43-5-7. And then in parentheses, welfare fraud, so that you would know, that that is only pertaining to welfare
Okay.
fraud. And then, of course, we added that in both cases, so after the 1 year, after a misdemeanor, IC 35-43, we added that as well, so that that is clear. There was.
No, just for clarification.
Go ahead.
10 years after a felony conviction, and then it tells us welfare fraud, are we saying any felony conviction or welfare fraud?
It's
'Cause it does
only
seem-
related to welfare fraud.
That was my presumption. It does seem, I think they will slow down.
That's why we tried to clarify.
Okay, but I'm also saying that I think that was less than successful clarification attempt.
How would you like it to read?
I'm not sure that I have that for offhand, but conviction or a felony. I mean, I'd maybe just say welfare fraud instead of putting it in the parenthesis. I know that you put it in there, but having it.
Would you like to move? I would like to keep the specific statute, the IC 35-43.
Yeah,
So can we just move the parentheses to before felony conviction?
so it
Well, I think it'd be for all of them, right? If you have been convicted of an attempt under. Oh, I see why, okay. After- No, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
I don't see
Okay,
That's what it said. I'm
I
sorry.
already gave you but that's fine.
It is.
So
Yeah.
we listed it after 1 year and 10 years, just to be clear that that is all referring to the same
'Cause it's in the
statute
same
under
No, and I
welfare
totally get
fraud.
that it's cited, and I think that makes a lot of sense, but it's interesting how it's spiced.
In the statutes, it only says it once, but we added it twice after both the misdemeanor and the felony. But in the actual statute, it's the exact verbiage, except for we added the verbiage.
I have seen, I recognize.
Alright.
I'll just
Legalese.
continue, we can discuss,
Yeah.
so again, we're not signing anything tonight, so we will do that so we'll have time, so
Right.
if you'd like to present changes at the next meeting.
Okay.
That would be appropriate, excuse me. So also under B, there was an additional paragraph that we removed. I'm not gonna read the whole paragraph to you. Again, you can have a copy of this and you can look at it and you can make recommendations for next time if you have a problem with removing that. We just felt like it was very confusing because the statute, it's basically restating the same thing with a different timeline. And it just didn't make sense, we didn't feel to have it in there. Okay, so under F. So, I'm gonna go ahead and read it as we're recommending it first. You or a member of your household not actively receiving or pursuing disability, refuse gainful employment. This used to read F, you or a member of your household voluntarily terminate gainful employment, are fired for just cause, or refuse gainful employment. So we are recommending that we remove that, because there's no way, we don't have any information on that, so there's no way for us to verify that statement. Again, we can go through more discussion if you need more clarification on that, but we're not doing that, so. Okay, let's see. So So on the, oh, it doesn't have page numbers, excellent, third page, next page. Excuse me. Last paragraph, it starts with "you should be aware." So it is the last line in that paragraph. Should this applicant fail to file, and it says "or application," so an application is the change. With 15 working days. It now says, let's just read it as it is stated. Oh, this looks different, wait a second, I'm on the wrong page, I apologize, hold on.
This one.
There's an issue in that sentence.
Oh, that's not, oh, that's an old one, I'm
This-
sorry.
This one right here.
Just throw that on the floor. Okay, should this applicant fail to file an application with,
Within, it should read.
it should read within,
And there's like a he, she missing or something.
I apologize. Okay, so we'll read, should this applicant fail to file an application within 15 working days after the date that emergency township assistance was granted,
The
The
applicant,
applicant, or, yeah. That's fine.
Okay.
the applicant may not be
Will not be or may not be? May not be sounds like it's negotiable, is it?
sounds like it
It could be negotiable,
is.
depending on what the trustee,
Yeah, we definitely wanted to leave that open. Following the grant of township assistance on an emergency basis.
you're reading the old one or the new one?
I'm reading the new one, I thought.
Yeah, that's what it says on there. You're reading the new one.
Okay. One more time with feeling. Should this applicant fail to file an application within 15 working days after the date that emergency township assistance was granted, the applicant may not be granted township assistance for 60 days following the grant of township assistance on an emergency basis.
It's very wordy.
You could,
That's the way it's written in the Indiana code.
yeah, you could add a period after the word filing. All right.
Say that again, do you want, no?
No, I'll worry about changes later.
We removed a person who was convicted, but I don't have. I'm sorry, Karen, did you just want that to not be bold? It looks like it's gone.
T.
Oh, okay, we moved it.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
because this was almost,
Okay, so,
I just didn't.
number, so T on that page was just moved up and removed, we just removed the bold. On that next page, under employment of individuals, number 4, second to last paragraph, trustee was capitalized. Next page, under B, it did say you will be required to apply and verify that you have applied for any other assistance, and we changed that to you may be required to apply. Under number 6, repayment to township assistance. This is the 6th line down. So we added of funds to that line, so it just said the recipient of assignment. So we said
We
of.
added benefits. You may be
Oh, I'm
required to
sorry, wrong line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line down starts with required to sign assignment of benefits. Yes, thank you, Karen. Benefits was not on there, so it was assignment of what, so, added that. On the next page, it did say emergency assistance was granted, he may not be granted township assistance, and we removed that.
It was just a run-on from another.
Page, like a stray.
So under number 7, time limit for decisions, we corrected, it said 71 hours on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line at the end of that sentence, it said 71. So we corrected that to say 72 hours, which follows the statute listed. Under number 8, under application, first line, to receive any township assistance, township was capitalized, it's been corrected to be lowercase. Also on the second line down, in the middle where it says no township assistance will be granted, that was also corrected. Under household income, number 9.
Pardon?
Yes,
no,
go ahead.
Township assistance was corrected from,
So on the, it was capitalized.
oh, okay, I understand, thank you.
Yes. So that would be number 9, household income. On the second paragraph, we bolded gross income. That has been confused. So we also, it was. So when I discussed the township guidelines or township assistance standards with Bill Jones, which is where these came from, he created this document. He explained to me that our income guidelines were 150% of the poverty guidelines.
The federal poverty.
Federal poverty guidelines, and so when we looked at when we pulled up the guidelines and looked at what was listed on our standards, it was not 150%, it was listed at 100%. So we have corrected that in the outline, and so we are now using 150% if you wanna take a look at what the change there is.
So essentially raised.
Excuse me.
And am I correct that by statute, there doesn't have to be a specific cap?
That is correct. What it says is that we have to set income guidelines. It does not say what they have to be.
So
We can discuss and it does not have to be 150. I just corrected it to what he said it should be. But we can absolutely discuss that and set that at whatever. And we don't even have to follow federal poverty guidelines, to be clear. We have to have income, we have to list income guidelines for our program.
I'll be frank, my preference would absolutely be to move it back to where it was at 100% the poverty level instead of raising it 50% on top of that. That would be my personal preference.
Well, my preference would be to double it and make it 300%, so.
So there's,
But we don't have the budget for that, so.
so there are a few things to consider. So townships of our size and Fairfield Township both use 100 or I shouldn't say both, use 150% of the guidelines. Rural townships that wouldn't encompass like West Lafayette, would use 100. So we would, I also wanna make a second point, so that's my first point. My second point would be, that it's stated in here that, whether to approve township assistance is up to the trustee and I don't have to follow these guidelines. So there's that.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that I would point out is that, again, I just wanna make sure that you understand that we have been saying it's 150. So we can, I mean, obviously we can, this is where it should have been. I don't feel like we are raising it. We are putting it to where we said it was. It was just misstated in our guidelines, but.
Well, no, it
Where
doesn't
were we
actually
saying?
state that in the
No, I mean, that's what Bill Jones says, that
Yeah, never stated.
the guideline, it's not stated in here, I'm saying,
So it was previously stated at 100%, is that a correct understanding? In our guidelines,
this
it was
is,
previously
yeah,
stated.
it was listed in our standards at 100%, correct.
And we're proposing the change to 150.
I am proposing that.
Sure.
But again, we're not signing that today, so we can, certainly you can think about that and go and do some research on your own and look at Fairfield Township. And the other point that I would make about township assistance is that we are not able to deny township assistance based off of the fact that we do not have any money.
Right.
So we would go out, we would have to, there would be things that we could do. We would have to appropriate funds from another fund, like the rainy day fund. Or we could take out a loan
Right.
to cover our expenses. So those are things to consider. So in your booklet, on the bottom line, we changed more than 8, add 360, we changed that to 540 per additional person. And then we added as well that the guidelines are used, guidelines based on the US Department of Health and Human Services, so that people are aware of where that came from. Any further questions or?
I missed where that was. Where-
So on the bottom line, under the
Okay.
income guidelines, we added, in parentheses, guidelines based on US Department of Health and Human Services, and we changed, that 540 was, we made it appropriate to 150, so it was 360, and now it reads 540.
In your opinion so far, with what we know, can our budget sustain operating at 150%, or even as Mike proposed, raising it higher to say 200? Is that within budgetary possibilities? Or are we kind of taking a shot in the dark and seeing what the demand is to see if there is need to justify moving into that level? Does that make sense?
Sure. From what I understand, excuse me, from what I understand, we requested, 24,000 some odd dollars, for township assistance, and our budget was not approved, we received less than that. And of course, that's in here, we can go through those numbers if we want to. At this time, it's really hard to project whether or not, what kind of people will be coming in and asking for township assistance. Out of the people that come in for township assistance, a very small percentage of them are people that we've seen before. So it's hard to, it's hard to estimate those costs.
But if you know from past history that people have been denied because they were making too much income and they would now fall in with the 150%.
I don't have that data for you.
Yeah.
I do not have that
Yeah,
information for
That
you.
might be good to collect in the future. I'm sure you plan on that.
Well, we have, so the software that we use for township assistance is called, it's from Net Results is the software company, and it's called Tom's Web. And inside Tom's Web, we have all kinds of data from the people that have received and been denied assistance. So if they filled out the application, we have that information. We've been using that since 2015, I believe. So we have that information, that we can pull up. So if you request additional information from me, I should be able to get you,
That would be good to know.
reasons that people were
That
denied.
would be helpful.
In my, I think we never, and I'm not sure if I'm right, but we never really go over 100 people, much more than 100 people with assistance.
I can't say that for sure.
And so doing the quick math, we should be fine. But I also think that, you know, word will get around that there's a new trustee, and then perhaps more people will start asking for money or seeking assistance on the west side. And so I think that we really don't know at all. But I think it's good to be conservative about it. I know that I'm not ready to tell any of my clients in my professional life to go knocking at your door quite yet, because until we get everything situated for our budget. But there's a lot of need west of the river.
I think defining that need is significantly important. I don't want the numbers to necessarily inhibit people from expressing their need. I think us collecting that data is equally important, so we can define what that is. And if our budget was rejected and we need more, if we can define that need, I'd love to be able to justify it and take that to powers that be to justify that budget, of course. So I would retract my opposition to the 150% since it's relatively arbitrary at this point, and it's more aspirational, really, I think. But I think defining that and collecting that data is going to be vital to our approach on that front. Taking us to the back top, Sarah.
I'm gonna try to get that to stop, I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's sure that's really annoying on the video, so.
For all your fans.
Yeah. My YouTube peeps. Okay, under countable income. So under bullet point number 2, we added and AFDC.
Okay.
On the next bullet point, next to workers' compensation, we added the parenthesis, except compensation that is restricted for the payment of medical expenses. We removed, so under one of the bullet points, it was regarding education grants, including loans for secondary or higher education. That has been repealed and is no longer a part of the statute, so we removed it because it's not accurate. On the bottom, so instead of, it did say on the very bottom where it says other sources of revenue or services that the township trustee may reasonably determine to be countable income. It did say subsidized housing payments provided by any government agency. So subsidized housing payments would be included in other sources of revenue, but we didn't want to limit that to just subsidized housing.
So if someone's getting HUD, you're gonna count that in the total? Is that what you're basically saying?
Correct, we
Okay.
can count that as income, that's absolutely right. And I mean, as well as all of these other things, right?
Yeah, that's just something I run into.
On the bottom paragraph here, it looks like so let's see what line this is. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 lines down in the bottom paragraph. Although the applicant may be required to apply, and that was, although the applicant must apply.
And since we're on that subject right now, since that was the last line, I could help if you were at all interested in having a list of all the local assistance places that are.
We actually, when someone comes in to receive township assistance, we have a list and a book that is provided by
Power.
Bauer. And
Can't really go any better than that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so Karen makes a copy of the list of the agencies with their addresses and their phone numbers.
Okay.
And then it also lists what kind of resources they can expect to find at that location.
Everybody that comes in get an application if they see anything.
Okay, cool. And do you have a food pantry list?
Well, whatever's on that. I also give them the Department of Family Resources and Area 4 to sign up for the
Energy assistance?
Energy Assistance Program and explain how they need to sign up for the heavy 3 months of both winter and summer. And
Right.
so they get all that information when they come in.
I'd like
Usually
to-
more than once.
I'd like to take a look at what all you have, just because
Sure,
it's what I do now, and so there might be something else
sure.
there, or we don't have it all. You guys have more than we do, so then we can,
So it looks like we have an extra space here. So,
the applicants on the next page.
correct. Does everybody see that?
What?
If you have questions about what that is, I'll explain, but okay. So under basic needs, under B, after the statute on the very bottom, at the end of B, it had maximum allowable for rent for 2018 is $690, which from what we can tell is just arbitrarily put in there. That is not defined in that statute. In fact, it's not even related to that statute. This statute is about shelter. And so it's
Okay.
not even, I would say it would not even be in the right place if you wanted to have that in there, but we would recommend that you remove it. On the next page, on the very bottom, so on the last line, it says applicants may be required, and it did say applicants must. On the following, so we just corrected, here on the top, where it says burial expenses, we just corrected paragraphs so that that would read clearly.
Just a formatting issue, is that what you're
We
saying?
had a formatting issue, so those were all, the paragraphs were not split appropriately, there was additional spaces. On the next page, township in all of those areas, the first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, and then fifth paragraph, were all capitalized, so those are lowercase.
Are the other capitalized townships, do they need to be changed as well in that area? Like in the township cemetery or?
Right, or the township or to any place outside.
I don't see why that would be any different,
No, I probably missed it.
Oh, okay.
No problem.
so I will just circle those.
I did it all the time too. Every time I would write township trustee, I would always capitalize the T, both T's. I did that.
Township. Okay.
You can go through.
Okay, that's, nope, that's right. Okay, I found two.
I capitalized trustee because that's
Yeah.
a person, but not township.
And then the second to the last paragraph.
Jason.
Qualifying for, got it. Okay, so I found three, first paragraph, third paragraph, and then under residency and eligibility on this, the last line.
I think you did good. I don't see what was in the last one.
Karen did an excellent job.
Oh, okay, second class out of the second.
It's just so hard. It's easy to miss.
Anything else?
Not on that page, no, that is the end. And again, we have that highlighted, you can take a look at that, I can get you a copy of it, I can, unfortunately, when I scan this, I couldn't figure out how to scan in color, so we'll try to figure that out and get that to you electronically if we can, but it just didn't come, that's why I was gonna put it up on the board, but it just did not come through, so.
Alright.
Questions, comments, concerns about township assistance standards?
I think we don't know until, I don't know if anything will change yet. I know I wanna be able to start sending my clients at some point, whenever we're ready.
You know, the last thing that I guess I will say about the township, guidelines for myself, the income guidelines, the way that I see it, is that if you work a 40-hour work week, making $15 an hour,
Yeah.
you don't qualify for help. So if you're living in this township paycheck to paycheck, and you develop cancer, or your child has a disease, or you get into an accident, or etc., right? You don't qualify under our current income guidelines. Now, also I get to say, I have to reiterate, I can choose not to follow those guidelines.
Right.
If
However,
there are extenuating circumstances.
if there are extenuating circumstances, right? Like an emergency, like the examples I was outlining for you, right? However, I think it would be best if we stuck to what we say in our standards, even in case of emergency. So if you have people living paycheck to paycheck, they will not qualify under 100%.
Yeah.
Working a full-time job.
Without, of course, exceptions, through the trustee, right? Which is something.
No, I'm just saying, if you go by the income guidelines, now at this point, like, you're right, like, I can just ignore the income guidelines in the case of extenuating circumstances. I'm saying my preference would be that we choose something that we, so we're going to stand with in all situations, that would be my preference. So we can just follow them.
Yeah, of course, I'd be preferential. I guess one of the other points I made, is that as a type 1 diabetic, I look at these guidelines and of course I wouldn't qualify under them. However, I can express that without insurance, my medicine would be far too expensive for, I think, nearly anybody to afford. And that's.
Now, there's a special insulin statute that we would have to read, but I don't believe that falls underneath these income guidelines. From the way that I read it.
Okay, so I'm just saying that I
You
think.
just use a specific example that's actually stated, so I just wanted to,
I understand. I'm just saying that I do think that the dialogue process that you'll have with the applicants is the crux and like at the heart of what, or really who obviously will be helping. So I think that those circumstances will be things that you will consider, and it's my understanding that you would like to broaden the pool of people we can help to our best capacity. Am I wrong in that understanding?
I'm saying that, so when you speak to Bill Jones, he says that our guidelines are 150%. He tells you that's what he intended.
Right.
I am trying to update them to what they were intended to be.
Originally. Right. I'm just asking generally if our goal is to expand the pool of people to the most that we can help. Is that right? I think it's generally yes, but I guess I'm just clarifying. Because if that's the case.
I wouldn't say that was my specific, my goal was when I spoke to him, townships of our size,
I guess just to clarify, I mean operating as a general.
it will expand the pool. I know what you're saying.
Okay.
It will, but that is not my goal to update this.
No, but I'm asking for the ethic beyond obviously the guidelines. Because the guidelines will take you to a certain point, but if someone comes in with understandable constraints, a rent that's reasonable and medical expenses that may be unreasonable, that though these guidelines obviously may not necessarily encompass those folks or cover those folks, it would be your goal to help them if all things are in order.
I'm not gonna say we won't. Yeah.
Okay. It's really backhanded, but I appreciate it.
I'm not gonna say that. I mean, I would prefer that we we have a set of standards that we follow in all situations.
Yeah, I get that would be
Because-
ideal
so
if there are
one of the-
non-residents.
So one of the most concerning things that I have found out so far is that as far as township assistance goes, there is no audit of township assistance. You do not, you are not the oversight. So when I do the township assistance, you will never see that information. You will not approve that information. There's no internal audit of that. There's also no state audit of that. So I guess what I'm saying, for my comfort level, I would like to have a set of standards that in every situation that we follow, which is why we took out and changed some of the language that we did. Now, it says in here, okay, like I stated before, that we don't have to follow the income guidelines.
I understand.
But I would prefer them to be at a place where we're all comfortable that we do follow them.
Well, if someone appeals it and they take it to the commissioner's court, the only thing the commissioners are gonna do are make sure that you're following your standards. So
Well, but our standards say we don't have to follow the income guidelines.
it just says if there's extenuating circumstances,
Which,
so.
right, so they would have to just
But then you
be
would have,
reasonably certain those are extenuating circumstances.
you would have to defend that.
I would have to defend that. Very good point.
Okay.
All right.
And I really have no interest in doing that, because that's kind of what I'm saying. Okay, and we can talk more about this, so we can approve those at the next meeting and we'll have time to think about that. So next on the agenda is the selection of depository, so right now we use Centier Bank, we only have one bank. I don't have anything for you because I'm not making any kind of recommendation that we change that. I do not have enough information at that point to even remotely deal with moving the bank account, so.
So can I go ahead and make a motion to table that and then also table the other items that we would like to review at our next meeting rather than this meeting being the 18 annual report. Also the policies obviously, but they're gonna come up under old business next time, right? Since we're not approving this week.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah, I second the motion then.
And then I'll, excellent, I as well. So we'll just form that table first. So then we're scheduling, is that right?
If you don't have any questions about the bank,
No. I mean, you wanna tell what's happening I think everyone knows.
yeah, I
what's
don't have
happening,
any
right?
information. We have, currently the bank is at Centier, our bank accounts are at Centier Bank. I've had one interaction with them, so I certainly have not gone out looking for another bank.
Yeah.
But if you have concerns or thoughts,
My
then
concern is that they're asking you to sign, all of us to sign our names
Right.
on
I have not
that.
spoken to them about any of that.
Yeah,
So I will completely bring back all of that information to you and present that to you when I have it. I've not spoken with anyone at the bank about that.
So you're in the works to set up a meeting, that
Correct.
is your intention?
Correct.
And that's not yet been done?
Correct.
Okay.
There's no meeting on the books.
Will we be notified when there is a meeting on the books?
Sure.
Okay.
Assuming that it's not before the next board meeting. I mean, you're saying that you want a separate email? You want notification of the meeting?
Yes.
The bank.
Just when that gets scheduled.
Not a problem. Alright, the board meeting schedule for 2019.
We talked about the 15th of January, is that in too quick of succession following your trainings?
Well, it's not that, it's that we have to have a public notice of 2 weeks.
Fair enough.
So the earliest that we can come back together is January 22nd. So I would recommend 6 p.m. January 22nd in this room.
okay.
What day is?
And then, that is a Tuesday evening, is that okay?
Yes,
that-
that's,
Are Tuesdays an okay day for this room?
As long as it doesn't last too long. Cause I have another,
What do you have?
at 7 o'clock, I have another.
You have 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Is that,
Normally the board meetings don't last that long. However,
okay,
having said that, now if you wanna start at 5:30, that's okay.
do we have any problems making it
training that night?
5:30
I think
p.m.?
Our class?
5:30, while we're Our
Tuesdays are
sea
good.
legs underneath us, it might be better to
He
have.
just said he has a conflict,
Yeah,
so.
I can't guarantee that we're done with work by then,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Can we meet in our boardroom? Does it have to be in this room?
Well, I was hoping to project some things. Unfortunately, I couldn't get that to work this evening. But I was hoping to have, so it is my intention to have these live streamed. And so in order for the public to be able to view the documents, I would like for them to all be on the projector, if that's okay if we use this room.
Sure.
So,
Wednesdays are just the ones that we have to stay off of, and then once Tom starts like a firefighter 1 or 2 class, then he'll have dates throughout the week and weekend, so just, if you
Okay.
give us heads up, we can work around it.
so Tuesdays at 7 you have, and then you said Wednesdays are bad.
I don't know what, Tuesdays are good, I don't know.
No, that Tuesday,
Is that
that particular
Every Tuesday at
Tuesday,
7 I have.
January 24th.
Every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Every Tuesday or just next? or
Every
just-
Tuesday, not in here, no. No, I'm not in here.
Oh,
No,
not
I
in here.
no,
You have another
I have
meeting.
another
You
meeting.
personally
Yeah,
have
I
another
personally-
meeting. I'm so
Which is
sorry.
irrelevant.
I totally misunderstood what
No,
you said.
No,
My bad.
I understood him and I was watching the conversation derail.
Okay.
I like that.
We will definitely try to be done.
Well, for now, I'll just leave.
Yeah. And we will be recording the meetings and you can watch them anytime.
On your phone while you're driving.
Yeah.
On your phone, no, I don't recommend that. So, do we wanna go ahead and look at do you guys have a list of, yeah, go ahead and read those off.
We have, April 16th, July 16th, and October 15th. All Tuesdays.
6 p.m. Any concerns there? Thoughts? I don't think we need board approval for that. It's not, okay, you can,
I was just gonna move to set our next date for the 22nd
okay.
of this month and to go ahead and post that.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right. Mike, I just had a question for you, so I didn't wanna forget it. The next fire department meeting, when is that?
We meet, best way to remember, we have trainings or a business meeting on every Wednesday of the month except the first one. And we try to keep the first Wednesday open or off for our members. The second Wednesday of each month is rescue squad. The third Wednesday is business meeting,
The
And then-
third Wednesday is the business meeting.
right? And then the fourth Wednesday is fire training. And then if there's a fifth Wednesday in the month, then we'll do a fire training after that.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, the appropriate meeting for the trustee and even potentially the board members would be the third Wednesday where the business meeting is happening.
You're all.
I will not be training with you.
No, you're always invited, just remember, no more than 2 of you can show up at one time.
And then, I'm sorry, I did miss the second Wednesday, what did you say that was?
Rescue squad,
Okay.
but yes, you're always welcome. We'll put you in gear and let you,
I will not be in any gear.
oh, come on.
Do we have any,
Yeah, what time? I didn't get the time.
7 o'clock.
Oh, 7, yeah.
Now, sometimes if it's a real busy schedule, we'll bump it up or not, bump it up a little bit, but use majority of the time or 7 o'clock.
public comment?
Public comments.
Any public comment?
Yes, I'd like to welcome you guys to the board. I'd like to learn just a quick little bit about, I know Mike a little bit, but just to learn what you guys know about Wabash Township, the fire department, where you live, if you have any clue about any of that stuff. So.
You want me to start?
Sure.
Yeah.
So my name is Jennifer Tysing. I live in West Lafayette, 1 block north of Lindbergh on Princess Drive. I've been in Wabash Township for approximately 5 years. And what I know about the fire department, is that what you said?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I ask that because some people where you live, for example, may not realize that that's the city fire department that covers your house. When we pull up in a red truck, sometimes people just don't
Right.
have any clue the difference between the city department and the.
oh, sure.
That's all.
I didn't know that 2 years ago, for
That's
sure, yeah.
weird.
I started coming to the township meetings and became interested in finding out more about what's going on in the township roughly 2 years ago, and I started coming to meetings about 15 months ago or so. Any other questions that you
No.
have? Is that about it?
Yeah.
I own a digital marketing company, so that's what I do for a living. I'm also a CASA, just to give you a little bit more information about me. So that's a court-appointed special advocate for children. And I have an Airbnb, so that's what I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm Elizabeth Tran. I've lived in West Lafayette since 2009. I'm a professor of biochemistry at Purdue. I am really good with numbers, that's what I do. I manage an NIH-funded research lab. I have 7 people that work for me, grad students and technicians and what have you, and so that's kind of my skill set. My husband, who basically put me through school, a lot of school, we won't get into that, was a paramedic the whole time. He, it was almost 20 years. And that was in Raleigh and then in Nashville. 24-hour shifts, so I became very familiar with public safety and first responders. And I've stayed in that kind of vision of knowing how public safety supports our community and wanting to give back to that, having been supported directly from this.
And I'm sorry, where do you live?
Oh, I'm sorry, I live in Barbary Heights.
Barbary.
In
Thank you.
West Lafayette, it's a city.
I live off Lindbergh, in the Village West Apartments, Willowbrook. And I don't know what else.
What do you do for a living?
Oh, I am a case manager, so I help homeless people and mentally ill people learn skills for everyday life, you know, show up on time to the job and that kind of stuff, and help navigate Medicaid and Medicare and these kinds of things. That's my job, and then I've been in mostly West Lafayette most of my life, or most of my life, but I've been in Lafayette a lot too. I had a house for a hot second over off of across from the Klondike Library. I think that's when I first started hearing about township stuff. Oh no, actually, the real reason I got involved in township stuff was I was flat broke, and I'm not sure if I had a house or if I was couch surfing and homeless at that time. But went to Fairfield Township, and Julie Roush and their team helped me out a lot. And after I got back up on my feet and got work and all these kinds of things, I went back to them and I wanted to pay back the money, and they wouldn't accept the money. And I just was like, well, what do you guys do here, and how does this all work? And ever since then, I've been kind of involved with township stuff on a political side, more so like kind of researching it for the League of Women Voters. I know they wanted to get rid of it forever, and so I've been one of the sole members of the League of Women Voters, kind of lobbying on township government's behalf. I've attended, we saw you there at the meetings lobbying down at the State House for township government. I know I'm really big local control kind of person. I think that's important, like the people actually control their own lives. So, and I feel like I've been here learning a lot, especially in the past 2 years. Learning a lot about this fire department, and I had a heck of a great time at the pancake breakfast. It was super neat, so that's about it.
And then
My name is Brendan Betts. I live on the corner of Klondike and Limburg, just down from this where you
Okay.
live. And one of my first exposures to township government was hearing that my friend who I've known for a while, Mike Oxenrider, was on the board. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about what that was and what it did. I work for a local business, Burton Pools, so I do closed, controlled water systems. In that capacity, I oversee several projects and manage budgets ranging from $30,000 to $750,000. One project right now specifically. I also do policy analytics at the State House and work in that capacity. I am very interested in township government personally because it is the most local form of government in my opinion. And I think that's fascinating but also incredibly rewarding. Seeing changes in your actual community and seeing those impacts in your neighbors' day-to-day lives, I think that's incredible public service. So I very much so look forward to getting to know you guys more and your wealth of knowledge and what you bring. I'm very excited to learn. Other than that, I'm definitely open to any questions and I'm happy to get to know you guys in a better capacity. But I did attend both high schools in Wabash Township. I went to Harrison for my first half of high school and graduated from Westside in 2012. Then I went to IUPUI and came back to get involved in politics and local business. And so I spent the vast majority of my life in Wabash Township, in the county as well as the city. Like I said, I live now in Limburg and Klondike, and that's torn to heck right now, but it is a little bit more on the countryside. And when I lived and went to Jackson, I lived out near Jackson Highway, which is not too far from that Shelby border with our township. So I'm familiar with that community and some of its more rural challenges. So I'm excited to be here too.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
All right, well, any other public comment?
Not for me.
Thank you for I would like to make a motion that we close the meeting.
Can you make that one? Yeah. Alright, so moved. And I will second it.
All those in favor?
I tried.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
My